Hello everyone, welcome to IPM IAS Academy's daily news highlights. Today is 22nd July 2024. So let us see what are the important news for civil service aspirants. Biden drops out of race, endorses Kamala Harris. A very important news regarding the American election. So the 81-year-old president Joe Biden says the decision, which comes amid escalating pressure from the Democratic allies, was made in the best interest of the party and the country. Adds that he will complete the remainder of the term. Lawmakers had expressed to him their doubts whether he could convince voters of his ability to handle the job for another term. So that is the point here, whether the voters are convinced or not. So they actually expressed this concern to him, that whether he should be able to convince the voters regarding his ability to handle the job for another term. US President Joe Biden dropped out of the 2024 race for the White House on Sunday, ending his bid for re-election following the disastrous debate with Donald Trump that raised doubts about his fitness for office under 4 months before the election. Mr. Biden said he was endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee for the 2024 election. So that is an important aspect. Now the presidential candidate will be Kamala Harris. She is also from the Democratic Party. Lastly, we have done an exclusive video for the American election process. We will be putting that in the description. So please go back and listen to that video also. Bangladesh government jobs quota scaled back by Supreme Court after deadly unrest. So yesterday also we discussed about it. The protest is going on in Bangladesh regarding the job quota, the government job quota. So the Bangladesh Supreme Court intervened in this situation. That is, the Supreme Court on Sunday scaled back a controversial quota system for government job applicants. The move comes as a partial victory for student protesters after days of nationwide unrest and deadly clashes that left at least 155 people dead. We welcome the Supreme Court verdict, a spokesperson for Students Against Discrimination, the main group responsible for organization protests, said. But we will not call off our protest until the government issues an order reflecting our demands. So that is the stand of the student protesters now. So the Supreme Court was due to decide next month on the legality of the reintroduced scheme, but brought forward its verdict as civil strife intensified. It decided that the lower bench order last month to reintroduce the scheme was illegal, Bangladeshi Attorney General A.M. Amin Uddin said. So basically, the main crux of this particular news is here, that is, the ruling curtailed the number of reserved jobs from 56% of all positions to 7% and brought down the veterans quota from 30% to 5%. The remaining 2% will be set aside for members of ethnic minorities, transgender community and people with disability. So the Supreme Court effectively said that 93% of the government jobs would be open to candidates on merit basis and 7% will be for the reservation, and out of that 7%, 5% is given for the veterans of the 1971 war. So we have an important update to make regarding the prelims and mains 2025 course of IPM IAS Academy. So the course is available in IPM IAS application. So before joining the course, you can actually take the test, the scholarship test. The link for the test is given in the description. So please take the test so that based on your marks, you will be able to get a lot of reduction in your fee. You will be able to study at your own convenience if you're joining in this course, whether you are a college student, whether you are a working professional or a learner who is actively preparing for civil service examination. This course will be ideal for you. So please download the app and register for the test. Mysuru's Captain Suprida, first woman officer at CSAT. Very important news. Captain Suprida from Mysuru has become the first woman officer from the Corps of Army Air Defense to be operationally deployed at Siachen Glaciers. So we know about Siachen Glacier, which is a very important strategic location for India. So in that strategic location, Captain Suprida will be the first woman officer. So this is a very important news. You can just read about it and please remember her name also. So this news is coming under General Studies 3, Internal Security. India's garment export woos self-inflicted report. At $14.5 billion, exports from the job-intensive sector were lower in 2023-24 than a decade earlier, owing to barriers on raw material imports and difficult customs trade procedures, says think tank. Exports from India's labor-intensive garment sector, which have been losing ground to rivals such as Vietnam and Bangladesh and were lower than the 2013-14 levels last year, have been dented more by the country's high duties and barriers on raw materials imports, along with difficult customs and trade procedures, rather than other nations' competitive strengths, a research report has flagged. So, basically, it is one of the most important labor intensive sector in India, and we are actually losing our exports in the international market, and our rivals like the Vietnam and Bangladesh, they are actually growing their business in the international market. So that is what this particular article says, and they are giving some important statistics regarding the exports also. And one of the main reason is the customs duty or the trade the policies that we have actually adopted. India's garment exports in 2023-24 stood at $14.5 billion compared to the $15 billion in 2013-14. That means 10 years before we were having $15 billion business, but now we are having only $14.5 billion business. Between 2013 and 23, garment exports from Vietnam have grown nearly 82% to hit 33.4 billion, while that of the Bangladesh has grown nearly 70% to hit 43.8 billion. China exported about 114 billion of garments in the same year, nearly a quarter lower than the decade earlier. So very important to understand this, because we are not having any growth in this export. Despite the fact that it is one of the labor intensive sectors in India, we are not able to take maximum benefit out of it. So that is the important aspect regarding this particular news. So read this article and write your own notes regarding this statistics. It's very important. What is the present status of India and who are our rivals and what is their percentage level rise in the international market? All these things will be really important for you. So please read this article. So this article will come in page number 4, General Studies 3. Mainly it is dealing with economic aspect and also international relations. Sustainable solutions by Rajasthan tribes make a mark at UN forum. The solutions offered by the indigenous tribal communities in Rajasthan to global challenges and their role in the execution of policies were highlighted at the high-level political forum on sustainable development at the United Nations headquarters in New York over the weekend. The forum was held under the United Nations Economic and Social Council, ECOSOC, with the theme Reinforcing the 2030 Agenda and Eradicating Poverty in Times of Multiple Crises, the Effective Delivery of Sustainable, Resilient and Innovative Solutions. The solutions were in alignment with the Sustainable Development Goals, and this was actually accepted by the high-level political forum on sustainable development at the United Nations headquarters. Okay, now what was the innovation they have actually adopted? So Wagdara, working on the tribal livelihood issues in southern Rajasthan, recently organized over 90 events as part of its movement for the preservation of indigenous seed varieties to restore links between crop diversity and climate resilience. Tribal farmers had taken a pledge at these events to save indigenous seeds and use them in their regular agricultural practice. These practices have helped them to reduce their dependence on the market and survive during difficult phases, including COVID-19 pandemic in 2020-21. Mr. Joshi said, since the global community was facing an unprecedented crisis, including climate change and its social economic consequences, the other challenges of the economic inequality and environmental degradation would only aggravate in the near future. The tribals in Rajasthan had adopted an innovative approach guided by sustainable and resilient solutions. He also added that these practices would not only fulfill their own aspirations, providing them with sustainable and resilient solutions, but would also help address the issues of poverty, inequality, and vulnerability in order to potentially advance the 2030 Agenda for SDG, Sustainable Development Goals. So, one of the important initiatives or decisions taken by the tribals of Rajasthan become a practicing model for the United Nations also. So it's a very important news, and the news is actually coming in page number 4, General Studies 2, and which can be given in the international relations when we are talking about United Nations, but on the other hand, it also discusses about the agriculture. Bail cannot be denied on ground of the serious charges, Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has clarified that seriousness of charges alone cannot be a factor to deny bail to under trials, nor can courts impose freakish bail conditions. A bench of justices J.B. Pardiwala and Ujjal Bhuyan ordered Sheikh Javed Iqbal, a man awaiting trial under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act for 9 years, to be released on bail in yet another decision which upheld the right of an individual's personal liberty over the state's claim that bail should not be made easy when serious crimes were involved. So very important to understand the role of Supreme Court in protecting the individual liberty and the fundamental rights of the citizens. So two things very important here. One, Supreme Court, the role of Supreme Court. Then here they also discuss about the individual personal liberty, which is an important aspect of the fundamental rights, Article 21, and they also discuss about the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. So please read about these things. A very important point here is an under trial has the fundamental right to speedy trial, the Supreme Court said in its judgment. Please do read about fundamental rights, personal liberty, that is Article 21, then UAPA, and the role of Supreme Court. Okay, so this news is actually coming in page number 6, General Studies 2, Indian Polity. Shock-proof state. India must ensure its democratic digital infrastructure is shock-proof. A bright light fell on the extent of the world's dependence on information technologies when, on July 19, supermarkets, banks, hospitals, airports, and many other services in between suffered a simultaneous blackout after a common software solution they used glitched. So here they are emphasizing on the need of an innovative and independent, digital infrastructure which should be shock proof. When we are depending on others, if there is any problem that is actually happening, there are chances like it will affect the entire area. Technological advancements are inevitable and desirable, but the concurrent responsibility to set up fail-safes and emergency protocols is often less glamorous. So technological advancements are needed, but it should be highly efficient and shock proof. So the last day's technological glitch might have affected the airline operators and they suffer greater monetary losses, but it would have only been more debilitating for cardiac facilities at a tertiary care center or a computer trying to access a thermal power facility during peak demand. So these are all very important things to understand, because these technologies we are not only using in one particular sector, we are using in various sectors. So now we need to take into account, we need to discuss about the security in that particular area, and it should be shock proof. So read this article. They also mentioned about the Digital India. So they mentioned about the need of creating a new software or a technological solution for all these kinds of problems. So because that will only help us. That will only help us to be independent. Okay. So read this particular article and make your own notes. Rather than only focusing on the not making or understanding just the knowledge, you need to frame your own perspective regarding that, your opinion regarding that. That is also very, very important. So it is coming in page number 8, General Studies. It's a part of the editorial and we can put it in the technology aspect. Focus on female employment to counter unemployment. So as a solution to the unemployment in our country, the author is emphasizing on the female employment opportunities. So this article mainly discusses about the gender issues. It discusses about the opportunities for female employment, how it actually helps in countering the overall unemployment situation in our country. The difficulty in getting jobs and inflation were the two major reasons that played a role in the results of the Lok Sabha elections 2024, according to the Lok Nidhi CSDS pre-poll survey. Okay, so based on that survey, they are emphasizing on unemployment and inflation. So in the article, they discuss about the statistics related to the percentage rise and the percentage decrease in the employment, especially for women and men. Both in the urban and rural areas, which is very important because statistics are always important while writing mains examination. So please keep that in mind. That is why I'm emphasizing on taking notes. So read this and note down the important statistics and percentage rise and decreases regarding the employment in our country. A better female labor force participation can improve overall family income and welfare, especially in rural India. So they are clearly emphasizing on the need for more female participation in the employment area. They are clearly emphasizing on the importance of female employment and how it can contribute to the household. So in order to do all these things, we need to have a good market access. The women should have a very good market access. How can we do that? That is clearly mentioned in this particular area. Then the importance or need of a work environment. So work environment should be proper. Then only they will be able to work properly in a safe working condition. So that is also very, very important. So that is listed here. And the gender norms. So the gender norms which are actually existing in different parts of the country. So that is also affecting the women's entry into job or employment. So how women is actually overcoming that? Okay, in which all areas, in which all circumstances they are actually overcoming that. That is also listed in this particular article. So read this article very clearly. You may take some time to complete this, but read this article very carefully and take down your notes. This will definitely help you because this is a very important area for civil services examination. Gender equality or social empowerment, social justice, economy, all these are really, really important areas for the civil service examination. So it is actually coming in page number 8, General Studies 3 and Economy. Reasonable accommodations and disability rights. The principle of reasonable accommodations is foregrounded in the legal framework through the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016. This act is very important. The Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016. The act describes RAs are those adjustments which ensure that the persons with a disability are able to exercise their rights equally with others. These RAs may range from building ramps or providing assistive technologies to restructuring job requirements and modifying workplaces. However, public and private institutions are exempt from the implementing these RAs if they can prove that such an exercise would cause them disproportionate or undue burden. Okay, so the author is trying to address the issues which are actually associated with the persons with disabilities and their entry and their opportunities in various sectors, and why the Indian institutions are reluctant in accepting these norms. The Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities charts out an illustrative set of factors which should aid an institution in objectively determining its undue burden. However, from the financial standpoint, Indian institutions are still reluctant to bear the cost of complying with such anti-discrimination legislation. The reason is not far to see. When institutions are made the sole cost bearers of RAs, they adopt efficiency enhancing utilitarian approaches rather than a welfare based approach towards PWDs. When we are giving the entire burden of expenses or financial aspects to the education institutions, they will be reluctant to take that initiative to accommodate the persons with disabilities. But if government is playing a role there, if government is actually making certain changes in the policies, or if they are able to come up with certain solutions for this in association with the institutions, that will actually help them to enhance the facilities for the PWDs. Informed by prejudices that the PWDs are inherently less productive or that providing RAs is always expensive, institutions tend to use the defense of undue burden for reasons of expediency more than for reasons of actual hardship. This directly compromises the rights of PWDs and makes them the subject of a cost-benefit analysis. When we are putting the whole responsibility in the institution will do a cost benefit analysis. Okay, if they are doing that cost benefit analysis, then the fundamental rights of the persons with disabilities, that will be compromised. The Constitution of India puts the state under a positive obligation to create conditions wherein individuals can effectively exercise their right to equality. Since the rights of PWDs directly depend on how accessible institutions are to them, the state is bound to create positive ecosystems which do not only mandate but also encourage the institutions to accommodate PWDs. So it is clearly mentioned in the Indian Constitution the importance of protecting the rights of the individuals. So it is the responsibility of the government to make provisions for that in the educational institutions. So there are certain models, there are certain recommendations here. So that we can see. First, a state can do so by sensitizing institutions about the fact that the majority of the requested RAs can be procured at the inexpensive prices. Okay, that is one thing. Second one is giving targeted incentives to such institutions for providing RAs such as deductions, subsidies or tax credits. And the third one, by sharing the cost of RAs with those remaining institutions and that demonstrate actual hardship in providing RAs due to the true shortfall of their resources. So these three recommendations will be really helpful in implementing the reasonable accommodations for the persons with disabilities in these institutions. So read this article because it actually gives a lot of perspective, and it actually talks about the real scenario of the rights of persons with disabilities, especially in the educational institutions. So that will give you a clear idea or a clear picture regarding how to respond to this particular problem. So with these approaches, the incentive and the cost sharing model can achieve a threefold objective. It can diminish the reluctance of erring institutions to accommodate the PWDs, provide the prospects of positive market outcomes to new and upcoming institutions, and concurrently ensure that institutions satisfy a uniform legal threshold of undue burden before they can be allowed to avoid cost of providing RAs. Article directly address the problem related with the reasonable accommodations in connection with the persons with the disabilities, and why the institutions are reluctant in providing these RAs, and how can they provide RAs with the help of the government support, and what are the provisions which are enshrined in the Constitution to support the cause of protecting the rights of the individuals. And they also discuss about the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016. So read this particular article, note your own points, okay, make that perspective or frame that perspective in your mind and your own opinion regarding this particular issue. This is coming under page number 8, General Studies 2, Indian Polity and Governance, Social Justice. We can connect it with various topic areas. The importance of both Quad and BRICS. So in this article, the author is trying to analyze the issues and challenges and the prospects related with the Quad and BRICS, and also the author emphasizing on the role of other international organizations or regional organizations and their vulnerability. So if you look at it from the perspective of United Nations is becoming more and more vulnerable. If you look at the ASEAN nations, you can see that the organization is getting more and more vulnerable. But on the other hand, the importance or the significance of Quad and BRICS is actually increasing. Even United States also has understood and realized the potential of these organizations, especially Quad, because United States is also a part of the Quad. While Quad has always a geopolitical security objective vis-a-vis China, India's vision goes beyond this narrow thrust to a much broader redrawing of the national security and techno-economic region. With Quad now working on reorientation of global supply chains of critical technologies and on a range of areas of direct strategic relevance to the region, including digital, telecom, health, power and semiconductors, it has underlined that development too has a security perspective which cannot be ignored. India in its turn has benefited through enhanced bilateral relations with Quad partners, especially the US. So from the perspective of India, Quad is a an advantage for the country, because we have benefited a lot with our bilateral relations with the Quad nations, especially United States. And here this organization is giving a different perspective on security, that is, development is also a part of the security. So what are the developmental activities they are doing, that is also listed here. So they are mainly working on this maritime region. So in the article they clearly mentioned that the role or the significance of India in the maritime security in the Pacific and in the Indian Ocean region, that is also very, very significant. Now coming to the BRICS is also another association where Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa are part. And here is also the potential is really huge. Initially all the nations are not interested to increase the number of members, but now we are in a situation where the number of the members should be increased, and the people, different countries are actually eager to join this organization. Why? Because they have understood the relevance and importance of this organization. So here in this whole article they're also discussing about one factor, that is China, because the Quad is always opposing China. America has their own opposition related with China. India has its own perspective which are actually against China. But in BRICS, India and China are partners also. In the context of BRICS, it is the responsibility of the country to ensure that the BRIC nations support India in various matters. Okay, so in the whole article they are also discussing about the present conflicts which are going on in the world, which make many of the international organizations vulnerable. That is the ongoing Palestine-Israel crisis, the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. So all those things are mentioned in this article. So read this article so that you will get an international perspective, and you will also understand about the international organizations, their relevance, and India's role and significance in the maritime security and also in the international peace and security. So this particular article is actually coming in page number 8, General Studies 2, International Relations. Houthis pledge huge response to Israeli strike. So this article is mainly dealing with the Palestine-Israel crisis that is actually ongoing. So read this article and get an idea about it, because you will get the conflict which are going on in that region and what are the various countries involved in this particular conflict. So it is coming in page number 14, General Studies 2, International Relations. Nepal Prime Minister Oli wins vote of confidence in Parliament. So this news is also coming under International Relations, page number 14. So this is an informative news. Last day itself we discussed about the problems in Nepal. So here, vote of confidence in Parliament is very important in the Nepali Parliament. Same like that in Indian Parliament also we have certain procedures. So try to understand the no confidence motion in Indian Parliament also, because it is really connected. Okay, so read this article, make your notes, and after reading this try to understand about the no confidence motion in India also. China Philippines reached deal in effort to stop clashes at Shoal. So this is very important. It's very strategic and it is international issue also. China and Philippines reached a deal they hope will end confrontations at the most fiercely disputed shoal in the South China Sea, the Philippine government said on Sunday. So here we have clearly mentioned the shoal, that is the second Thomas shoal. So China is here, Philippines is here. Okay, so you will be able to see the map here. So this is the South China Sea. It's a very highly disputed region. China is here and Philippines is here. So China is having disputes with several nations over borders, many of them in the South China Sea. So as they have come to an agreement with Philippines, the other in the context of other nations also we can expect such kind of an initiative from the Chinese side. The Philippines occupies second Thomas Shoal, but China also claims it, and increasingly hostile clashes at sea have sparked fears of larger conflicts that could involve the United States. The crucial deal was reached on Sunday after a series of meetings between the Philippine and the Chinese diplomats in Manila, exchanges of diplomatic notes that aim to establish a mutually acceptable arrangement at the shoal without conceding either side's territorial. So this was a welcoming move by both the nations, because we can expect, if the China is taking actions like this, we can expect such kind of conflict resolution in the other areas also. That is, both sides continue to recognize the need to de-escalate the situation in the South China Sea and manage differences through dialogue and consultation, and agree that the agreement will not prejudice each other's positions in South China Sea. The China has disputes over several governments over the land and sea borders, many of them in the South China Sea, and the rare deal with the Philippines. So that is the importance of this article. It was a very rare deal with Philippines. It actually could spark hope that the similar arrangements could be forced by the Beijing with other rival countries to avoid clashes. So that is a very important move to establish peace and security in the region. So as a civil service aspirant, you need to have a very clear idea about what is going on in the budget session. So if possible, watch it live. You'll be able to see it in YouTube, and also if you switch on your TV channels, you'll be able to see that. So try to watch the procedures going on, what are the important provisions which are included in the budget. All those things are important for our civil services examination, and also for improving our understanding and to create your opinion regarding various economic aspects in our country. So I hope this session was useful. So thank you so much for watching the video. If you like the video, please share, like and subscribe this channel. Please share it with your friends if you find that this will be helpful for their civil services preparation. So thank you so much.